See here. So in the previous class, what we discussed? Features of C++. So what are the features of C++? This C++ is the general purpose programming language. Just a minute. Uh, so the C++ is the general purpose programming language. It is the middle level programming language, and it is the object oriented programming language. So using C++, we can develop many kinds of applications. So it is general purpose programming language. Using C++, we can develop system software as well as application software. It can communicate with the hardware directly. Okay, so we can call C++ as the middle level programming language, and we are calling the C++ as the object oriented programming language because it supports to four concepts. Those are encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. So you can say C++ is the object oriented programming language. The C++ is the portable programming language, means the programs in one system, the C++ programs in one system can run on any system even if operating system is same or different. So that's why it is portable. And the C++ is providing rich library to us. So C++ library has header files. In those header files, predefined functions and predefined classes are there. And it is the extensible programming language, means we can add our own header files to the C++ library. And it is providing basic security for the data. We are defining members in the, we are defining variables in the class. In the class, we can use a private modifier. So hence we can provide security for the data. Exception handling means there is a mechanism of handling runtime errors. Templates are used to deal with many data types. STL stands for standard template library. So to work with group of elements, we use this library. Dynamic memory allocation means allocating memory at runtime. So these things we discussed in the previous class. Okay, now in today's class, I want to talk about what are the drawbacks of C++. C++ has some drawbacks. So what are those drawbacks? And also I will explain what is the structure of C++ program. And also I will explain the first program in the C++. How can we print hello on output screen? So where we have to write the program, how to compile, okay, how to run the program, those things I will explain in today's class. Okay, pay attention and listen carefully here. Okay, now see about disadvantages of C++. Disadvantages of C++. So what are the disadvantages are there? See here. So what are the disadvantages are there? First one is the C++ is the platform dependent programming language. I'm calling C++ as the platform dependent programming language. So this is a drawback. And the C++ is the machine dependent programming language. It is the machine dependent programming language. And it is not providing garbage collector. No automatic memory allocation, memory deallocation is there. So no garbage collector is there. No automatic memory allocation is there. And this C++ supports to pointers. Okay, this is also drawback. The C++ supports to the friend functions and friend classes. So this one is also a drawback. And another drawback is it supports to global variables. It supports to global variables. So these are the main drawbacks of the C++. So among these, what is the first one? Platform dependent. So here platform means operating system, combination of operating system and microprocessor. Combination of operating system and microprocessor is called platform. Combination of operating system and microprocessor is called operating system. Sorry, platform. Combination of operating system and microprocessor is called platform. So what are the examples for operating system? Operating system examples are like Windows is the operating system. Okay, Unix is the operating system, Linux is the operating system, Mac is the operating system, MS DOS, Ubuntu. Okay, so all these are the operating systems. Okay, so these are the examples for operating systems. What are the examples for microprocessors? Microprocessor examples are like Intel microprocessor, okay, AMD microprocessor, Celeron microprocessor. So these are the examples for microprocessors. Okay, so in the previous classes, I already told that for every operating system, okay, hi Islam, listen, uh, see. So just now I started the class. So we are discussing about disadvantages of C++, and among this we are discussing first disadvantage, platform dependency. The C++ is the platform dependent programming language. So here you have to understand the term platform. Platform means that is a combination of operating system and microprocessor. So what are the examples for operating system? Windows, Unix, Linux, these are the operating systems. What are the examples for microprocessors? Intel, AMD, Celeron, these are the microprocessors. Okay, remember one point. For every operating system has its own language, and every microprocessor has its own language. The language which can be understood by Windows may not be understood by Unix or Linux. The language which can be understood by Linux may not be understood by Windows or Unix. So like this, every operating system has its own language, and every microprocessor has also its own language. The language which can be understood by Intel may not be understood by AMD or Celeron. The language which can be understood by Celeron may not be understood by Intel or AMD. Like that, for every operating system, its own language is there. For every microprocessor, its own language is there. So one operating system's language may not be understood by another operating system. One microprocessor's language may not be understood by another microprocessor. Okay, so we are calling this C++ is as the platform dependent programming languages. So to understand this point, once again I'm explaining the execution process of this C++ program. In the previous class I already explained. Now once again I'm explaining the execution process of C++ program. See here, now here we are writing C++ program. This is the C++ program. I am saving this program with the name hi.cpp. So now this code is called source code. This is in high level language. So computer cannot understand it. So we are compiling this one. After compilation, it is generating a file. That file is called exe file. This is hi.exe file. This exe file contains what? Machine code. Or you can say this as the native code, which can be understood by the operating system. For example, this is a computer. This is a computer. This computer has Windows 10 operating system. This computer has Windows 10 operating system is there. So here machine code will be generated according to the Windows 10 only. So this is Windows 10's machine code. So this is the execution process of CPP program. Okay, so here this is source code. We are writing the program. After compiling, it is generating exe file. That exe file contains machine code. This machine code will be generated according to the operating system and according to the microprocessor which is in this computer. According to operating system and microprocessor, this machine code will be generated. Now for example, here another system is there. This is another system. This has same operating system. So if same operating system is there, no problem, directly place the exe file. Now you can run. But if different operating system is there, for example here different operating system is there, this system has Linux. Now can we run that hi.exe file here? Can we run hi.exe file here? No, we cannot, because this hi.exe file has Windows 10 native code. It has Windows 10 native code. So this Windows 10 native code cannot be understood by the Linux. So you cannot run on this system. This exe file cannot run on this system because that has Windows 10 native code. Windows 10 native code cannot be understood by the Linux. Okay, so that's why we cannot run. So with this, we can understand that here this CPP exe file is completely depending on operating system. This CPP exe file is completely depending on operating system. If same operating system is there, we can run that exe file. If different operating system is there, we cannot run that exe file. That is the problem here. So if you want to run, again we have to place the source code, again we have to compile, okay, that will generate exe file. Now we can run. So that is very lengthy process. So directly by placing this output file, we cannot run, because that output file has, that exe file has machine code according to the operating system. One operating system's machine code cannot be understood by another operating system. So it is completely depending on operating system and microprocessor. Combination of operating system and microprocessor I'm calling as platform. So I'm calling this C++ as the platform dependent programming language. Okay, so very simple point. The point to understand is, after compilation of C++ program, exe file will be generated. That exe file is platform dependent. Okay, whereas Java is the platform independent programming language. There, after compilation, bytecode will be generated. In the Java, after compilation, bytecode will be generated. So there one separate software, one special software is required, that is JVM, to run the bytecode. Here in this C++, there is no intermediate code is there. After compilation, directly it is creating exe file. So this exe file is operating system dependent and microprocessor dependent. So that's why we are calling C++ as the platform dependent programming language. And next one is, it is the machine dependent programming language. Okay, so C++ exe file is depending on operating system and microprocessor. So you can say this as the platform dependent. This is a drawback. Okay, and another drawback is, it is the machine dependent programming language. I'm calling C++ as the machine dependent programming language. So second drawback of C++ is, it is machine dependent programming language. Means what? It is machine dependent programming language means C++, the programs which are developed using C++. So the C++ programs, the C++ applications, we can run on computer only. We can run on computer only. We cannot run on many devices. We cannot run on many machines, many devices. We cannot run on many devices. Like, what are those many devices? Like, I want to run in a switch, networking device. I want to run in router, networking device. Okay, in set of boxes, I want to run. Okay, in the remote control, TV remote control, AC remote control. Okay, so all these are what? Different machines. So remote control, set of boxes, router, switch. Okay, in such type of devices, can we run our C++ application? No, we cannot. So we can run C++ programs on computer only. Nowadays, by using Microsoft Visual C++, we can develop mobile applications also for Windows. For Windows, we can develop mobile applications also by using Microsoft Visual C++. That is a different story. But these C++ programs, we can run on computer only. The C++ programs, we can run on computer only. We cannot run on many devices like switch, router, set-top boxes, remote control, okay, Blu-ray DVD players. So on many devices, we cannot run. We can run on computer only. So that's why we are calling this as a machine dependent. It is depending on computer. Okay, so this is a machine dependent programming language, whereas Java is the machine independent programming language. Java programs we can run on switch, router, set-top boxes, remote control. So the software developed in Java can run on many devices. But whereas the C++ software, the software developed by using the C++, we can run on computer only. We cannot run on many devices. So that's why it is the machine dependent programming language. This is the second drawback. And the third drawback is what? No garbage collector is there. So what is the duty of garbage collector? See, in nowadays advanced languages are there, like Java is there. Python language is there. So in these advanced languages provide garbage collector. What is the duty of this garbage collector? This garbage collector removes unwanted objects automatically. This garbage collector removes unwanted objects automatically. So it removes the unwanted objects automatically. So garbage collector is responsible to destroy the objects. To destroy the memory, garbage collector is responsible. Okay. So garbage collector removes unwanted objects. Okay. Whereas in C++, this C++ is not providing garbage collector. Okay. So we are responsible to allocate the memory. So we are the responsible means we are the programmers. So programmer is responsible to deallocate the memory. Programmer is responsible to deallocate the memory. So I already told dynamic memory allocation is the advantage. So with the new keyword, we can allocate the memory. So if you write new int means 2 bytes memory will be allocated. Okay, but that memory will not be destroyed automatically. Okay, sorry, 4 bytes memory. Okay, some compilers allocates 2 bytes, some compilers allocates 4 bytes. That depends on compiler. Okay, so if you write new int means how much memory will be allocated? 4 bytes memory will be allocated. Okay, so that memory automatically that will not be destroyed because garbage collector is not there in the C++. So who has to destroy that one? So for this we give one variable name actually. So here we declare one pointer variable like this. So now memory will be allocated, 4 bytes memory will be allocated. If you want to delete that memory, we are responsible to destroy the memory. So we write like this. So here what we are doing, we are destroying the memory. We are destroying that 4 bytes memory here. Here what we are doing, allocating the memory. Here what we are doing, deallocating the memory, destroying the memory. So as a programmer, we are responsible to destroy the memory and allocating the memory. But whereas garbage collector, if garbage collector is available in the language, that removes unwanted objects. So when there is no reference is there, then automatically that garbage collector removes that one. That is possible in case of Java or Python. But this feature is not available for the C++. So memory management is responsibility of the programmer in C++. That is the drawback here. So we should take care about the memory management. So this is drawback. Automatic memory management is not there in C++. So next, these three are related terms related to the security. These three topics are related to the security. So these pointers, due to this pointers concept, friend functions and friend classes concept, and global variables concept, due to these three concepts, security problems may occur. So due to these three concepts, what are those three concepts? See, just a minute. See here. So due to these three concepts, okay, security problems may occur. So security problems may occur due to these three concepts: pointers, okay, friend functions and friend classes, global variables concept. So due to these three concepts, security problems may occur. So these are security problem oriented concepts. Okay, so this pointer supports to the pointer arithmetic. That is very dangerous concept. Pointer arithmetic is very dangerous concept. Okay, so pointer arithmetic means using operators on pointers. Using operators on pointers is called pointer arithmetic. So we use the operators like plus plus, minus minus, or plus or minus operator on pointers. For example, listen, here there is one structure record is there. For example, here there is one structure record. This is one structure record. One bank is maintaining like this. Okay, this is customer one. Customer one. Customer one account number is 1234. His name is Ramu. His name is Ramu. His account has 50,000 balance. His account has 50,000 rupees. If I know the address of account number, so this is what? This is name. This one is what? Account balance. If I know the address of account number, okay. If I know the address of account number, so for example, C1 address of C1 dot address of C1 dot account number. Address of C1 dot account number means this address, account number address. I am holding in the pointer variable P. So if I write P plus plus, now what happens? That accesses next element. If I write P plus plus again, that accesses next element. If I write P plus plus again, that accesses next element again. So if I know the address of one element, I can access the next elements. If I know the account number address, I can know his name, I can know his account balance, I can know his PIN number. So automatically security problems will occur here. So in the C language, data is open. So this pointer arithmetic is very, very dangerous. So the same concept of C also supported by C++. So this pointer arithmetic concept is very, very dangerous. If we know address of one element, we can access next elements also. So such type of sensitive data may be there, like account balance, PIN number, passwords, usernames. Okay, these are sensitive data. Such type of sensitive data may be there. Okay, so for that sensitive data that will be accessed by using this pointer arithmetic, so security problems will occur due to this pointer arithmetic. So Java does not support to the pointers, whereas C++ supports to the pointers. So due to pointers, security problems will occur, so that's why they removed from Java. But the C++ developers, they didn't remove this pointers concept. Okay, C++ supports to the pointers, Java does not support to the pointers. So to C language has drawbacks. To avoid those drawbacks, C++ came. C++ has some drawbacks. To avoid those drawbacks, Java came. Okay, so next another topic is what friend functions and friend classes. So what is the problem in the friend functions and friend classes? Listen here. The problem with the friend functions and friend classes is, so friend functions and no, yes, okay, sorry, network problem. Okay, now listen. So what we are discussing about friend functions and friend classes. Listen. Okay, see. So say about friend functions and friend classes. So we are discussing about drawbacks. So in the drawbacks, I explained about or drawbacks, like what are the drawbacks? This C++ is the platform dependent, so it is depending on operating system and microprocessor. It is a mission dependent. We can run on computer only. We cannot run on many devices. So it is not providing garbage collector. No automatic memory management is there, and it is providing some security problem oriented concepts like pointers, friend functions, and friend classes. So due to pointer arithmetic, if we know address of one element, we can access next elements also by using pointer arithmetic. So that's why this pointer arithmetic arithmetic concept is very, very dangerous. So due to this, security problems may occur. Okay, so this in the C++, don't use this pointer arithmetic, so security problems will occur. C++ supports to pointer arithmetic, so that's why I'm calling this C++ is not security programming language. It supports to the pointers. So due to this reason, Java developers removed this pointer concept. They didn't add pointer concept to the Java. And next, friend functions and friend classes. Okay, so these are also security problem oriented concepts. So what is the problem here? Let me explain. So in the class, we define the properties. Okay, or otherwise, I'm taking same example here. I'm taking customer example. I'm taking bank customer. One bank is maintaining customer class like this. So what are the customer properties? Customer account number. Okay, and customer name, customer name. Okay, and customer account balance. So here we are defining these members inside of the class. In the features of C++, I clearly told that C++ provides basic security for the data because we are placing members in the class, and in the class we are defining those members as private, so security will be provided. But these private members, so private members means what? Private members can be accessed within the class only. Private members are not accessible outside of the class. So private means, what's the meaning of this one? Private members, private members can be private members can be accessed within class only. Private members can be accessed within class only. Okay, they cannot be accessed from outside of class. They cannot be accessed from outside of class. Okay, so this point already we discussed in the features. But okay, so this is the advantage only. But so here private members can be accessed within the class only. They cannot be accessed outside of the class. Private members cannot be accessed outside of class. So this is advantage only. But this, due to this friend functions, friend classes. So friend function means what? That is friend to this class. This class. That function is a friend to this class. Our friend class means that class is friend to this class. If any friend is there for a class, that friend function or friend class can access private members. So that may be friend function, that may be friend function or friend class. Friend function or friend class can access friend function or friend class can access private members of a class, can access private members. Okay, so we make a function to we make a function as a friend to this class, or we make a class as friend to this class. Now those friend functions or friend classes can access these private members. So generally private members are not accessible outside of the class, but friend functions, friend classes can access. So from these friend functions or friend classes, other persons can access, so automatically again security problems will occur. Once again I'm repeating, here we are placing members in the class, we are defining them as private. So private means those are not accessible outside of the class, but friend functions, friend classes of this class can access those private members. So from those friend functions and friend classes, other classes or functions can access, others can access. So due to this, security problems will occur. So that's why the Java, they didn't add this one, friend function, friend class. But C++ supports to it. So this is the drawback of C++. Okay, and another drawback is it supports to global variables. It supports to the global variables. So C++ supports to global variables. So global variables means global variable can be accessed from anywhere. Global variable can be accessed from anywhere, that is within, that may be within the program or outside of the program. You can access that global variable from anywhere. So you are accessing from anywhere means automatically some security problems may occur. So these are three: friend functions, friend classes, global variables, and pointer arithmetic. So these three are the security problem oriented concepts: pointers, friend functions, and friend classes, uh, global variables. So global variable means Islam. We declare outside of all functions. Yes, I'm repeating. We declare outside of all functions. For example, I'm declaring one variable here, int. I'm declaring one variable here, x. So outside of all classes, I'm defining like this, or otherwise we use external keyword. Okay. So this variable is called global variable. So this one is called global variable. So global variable we declare outside of all functions and all classes. Outside of all functions and classes, if we declare any variable, that variable is called global variable. So if this program has 10 functions, those 10 functions can access this variable. Okay, if this program has 10 classes, all those 10 classes can access this variable. Okay, not only this program, other programs can also access this x variable. So within the program we can access this global variable, and outside of the programs also other programs can also. So this is another program 2. Okay, this is another program 3. So these other programs can also access this external variable here in the program 2 or in the program 3. So this global variable can be shared by other programs. Global variable can be shared by other programs. So automatically some security problems may occur. Okay, so outside of this we can access, outside of our application we can access. So automatically some security problems may occur due to these global variables. So that's why in the Java doesn't support this global variable concept. They didn't add this one. So these three concepts are security problem oriented concepts. Islam, is it okay? Yes. Okay. See, so these are the drawbacks of the C++. Okay, see here. So what are the drawbacks? It is platform dependent. Means the C++ application depends on operating system. We can run on same operating system, we cannot run on different operating system. If you want to run on different operating system, again we have to compile. Okay, so that increases our work. Next, machine dependent. The C++ is the machine dependent, means we can run on computer only, we cannot run on many devices. It is not providing automatic memory management feature. It has no garbage collector. C++ is not providing garbage collector. Okay, we are responsible to destroy the memory. Okay, it supports to pointers, friend functions, friend classes, and global variables. These are the security problem oriented concepts. Due to these three concepts, security problems will occur. These are the drawbacks of the C++. See the structure of C++ program. See here, what is the structure of C++ program? Structure of C++ program. Now I'm explaining the structure of C++ program. See here. See, you already know C language. Most of the students already know C language. The C program we write in the form of functions. C program we write in the form of functions. So C program we write in the form of functions. C program we write in the form of functions. Okay. For example, this is function 1. Starting point of function, ending point of function. In between that we write the statements. So like this you can write any number of functions. This is another function. Okay, so like this you can write any number of functions. Finally we define main function here. So from the main function we call all those functions. Okay, so this is the structure of a C program. So C program we write in the form of functions. Okay, whereas this C++ program we can run in two ways. C++ program we can write in two ways. C++ program we can write in two ways, in two styles. C program we write in the form of functions. That is called procedure oriented style. C program we write in the form of functions. That style is called procedure oriented style. The C++ program, C++ program, we can write in two styles. C++ program we can write in two styles. What are those two styles? One is procedure oriented style, means in the form of functions. One is procedure oriented style. Another one is object oriented style. One is procedure oriented style. Another one is what? Object oriented style. So in two styles we can write C++ program. Whereas C program we write in procedure oriented style only, means in the form of functions. The C++ program we can write in the form of functions. Procedure oriented style means we write program in the form of functions. Okay, object oriented style means we write program in the form of classes and objects. We write program in the form of classes and objects. Okay, so C program we write program in the form of functions, that is procedure oriented style. C++ program we can write in two styles. One is procedure oriented style, another one is object oriented style. Procedure oriented style means we write in the form of functions. Object oriented programming style means we write program in the form of classes and objects. Okay, so both styles we can use. So combinedly I'm writing the structure of C++ program. See here. So how can we define the class? So to define the class we use a keyword, class keyword, object oriented style. Then we give the class name here. You can give any class name. Here we write class name. In the class, okay, starting point of class, ending point of class. Okay, so to the ending curly braces we write semicolon. In the class what we define? Properties. Properties means just like variables in the C language. Okay, in the C language we are calling them as variables. Here if we define those variables in the class, we are calling them as the properties. In the C language we are calling functions. If we define functions in the class, those are called methods. So class contains properties and methods. In the class we are defining properties and methods. So like this we can define any number of classes here. Okay, and you can define functions. To define the function what we write? Return type we write. To define the function the syntax is return type we write. Okay, then function name we write. Function name. Okay, if any arguments are required we write parameter list. Arguments, parameter list. Okay, parameter list. Writing parameter list is optional. Okay, parameter list we write here. If required we can write. This is starting point of function, ending point of function. In between that we write the code statements. Okay, so this is function structure. This is what class structure. So like this we can define any number of classes, any number of functions. Okay, and if you want to define namespaces, you can define namespaces also. In the C++ we can define namespaces also. Namespaces. So to define the namespace we write like this: namespace. Namespace is concept added in the modern C++. So namespace, give the namespace name here. Give the namespace name. Namespace name. So this in the namespace, this namespace is the in the namespace we can define classes. We can define classes. We can define functions. We can declare the objects. Okay, we can declare the properties. We can declare the objects, etc. So namespace contains classes, functions, and objects. So like this, we can define namespaces, we can define functions, we can define classes in the C++ program. So C++ program can contain classes, functions, namespaces. After defining all, what we write? We write main. Okay, so what is the syntax of main? See here. For the main, return type is int. In the modern C++, for the main, return type is int only, that cannot take other data type as a return type. So int is the return type, main is the function name. Okay, if you want to write any arguments you can take arguments here. Writing arguments is optional. So first argument is integer argument. First argument is integer argument. Second argument is a character array argument. Okay, Islam, I will explain, don't worry. Okay, so this namespace I will explain, don't worry. Okay, just see the structure, see the terminology. I will explain about namespace. So actually namespace means this name, in the namespace we can define multiple classes, functions and objects. So in the namespace we can define classes, functions and objects. Okay, if you want to talk about the C++, before 98, in the C++ 98, this namespace concept was not there. This namespace concept introduced in the 2003 version, C++ 03 version, namespace concept introduced. Okay, so before 98, this this namespace concept was not there. So after 98, we are calling C++ as the modern C++. So in the modern C++, they added namespaces concept. Okay, this I will explain again. Just to try to understand the structure. Okay, so namespace means in the namespace we can define multiple classes, functions and objects. See, so for the main we can take the arguments, like we can take character pointer array. Character pointer array means this is string array. So character pointer args array. So taking these arguments is optional. Starting point of main, ending point of main. Here we write the statements. We can create the objects, we can invoke the members, we can invoke the functions from the main. So this is the structure of C++ program. Okay, so once again I'm repeating, listen. C program we can write in the form of functions. C program we write in the form of functions. Whereas C++ program we can write in two styles. One is procedure oriented style, another one is object oriented style. C program we can write in procedure oriented style only. We cannot write in object oriented style. C++ program we can write in procedure oriented style as well as object oriented style. Okay, so here we can define any number of classes like this. In the class we define properties and methods. Okay, so next we can define any number of functions by following this syntax. And if you want to define any namespaces, we can define the namespaces also. Okay, so like this we can define namespaces, functions, classes in the C++ program. And finally we define the main function. This main is the entry point of the program. Every program execution starts from main only. Okay, so this main return type is int. Okay, it can take arguments. So writing arguments is optional. In this we create the objects and we invoke these members, or directly we can call these functions. Okay, so this is the structure of C++ program. So in the initial programs I will not use these classes, I will not define these namespaces, I will not define these functions, just I define main function only. So in the language basics like operators and control structures, we define only one function, main function. So after that, in the classes and objects chapter, I define the classes. I use the classes. Okay, and in the functions chapter, I define the functions. Okay, so writing functions, classes, namespaces is optional to write C++ program. So this main function is mandatory. We must write main function to write one C++ program. So this is the structure of C++ program. Okay, so when the classes goes on, you can understand the structure. So when you are able to define your classes and when you are able to define functions, then you can understand the structure perfectly. Just try to understand that C++ program contains classes, functions, namespaces, and we invoke them from main. That's it. That's the concept. Okay, now listen. I want to write one basic program. I want to write one basic program to print the hello on output screen. I want to write one basic program to print hello on output screen. Okay, so I'm writing basic program. Now see here, listen carefully. Okay, so just now we have seen structure of C++ program. So sometimes here, if you want to write preprocessor directives, we write preprocessor directives here outside of all classes and functions. We write preprocessor directives. We write preprocessor directives. right? Preprocessor directives. Sometimes we declare global variables here, global variables also. So this is the structure of C++ program. Okay, now I want to write one program to print hello. Okay, so this is the program to print hello. Program to print hello on output screen. Basic program on output screen. Program to print hello. So to print hello on output screen, what we have to do, see here. So just now we have seen the structure of C++ program. So in the basic programs, we must write this main function. Okay, all the remaining are optional. Remaining all are optional. So this main is mandatory function. Okay, so now see here, to write this program, what we write is, first we write main. Okay, main. Writing parameters is optional. Main can take arguments, but I'm not writing any arguments now. Okay, so this is the starting point of main, this is the ending point of main. Main is the function, we are defining it. Okay, this main is called by the compiler at runtime. Okay, so when we run this program, so that calls this main function. So then code will get executed. When we run the program, main function will be called and program will get executed. Okay, so when we type the exe file name, when we run this program, internally operating system calls this main function and that executes the code. Okay, now see here, listen carefully. This main, I want to talk about main now. So this main can return integer value only. So return type is int only. So when we are returning a value, we write return statement here. The students who know C language, they already know about it. So return 0, I'm writing here. Okay, so what is this main? Main is the, now I'm talking about main. What is this main? This main is a function. This main is a function. I'm calling this as main is an entry point. I'm calling this as entry point of the program. Main is the entry point of the program. So each and every program, execution, each and every program execution starts from, each and every program execution starts from main only. Each and every program execution starts from main only. So this main is the entry point of the program. So every program execution starts from main only. Okay, there is the entry point. This main can return integer value. It can return integer value. It can return integer value, int value, integer value. Integer value means number without decimal places, like 45, 67, okay, 82, okay, minus 4, such type of integer value. So it can return only integer value. Okay, it can take arguments. It can take two arguments. It can take two arguments. Okay, so here in the parentheses, if we write, those are called arguments. So it can take two arguments. First one is integer type, second one is character array. Okay, so it can take two arguments. Those are, first one is integer, second one is character pointer array, character string array. Character pointer array means string array. So it can take two arguments only. Okay, so main can return value, main can take two arguments. It is the entry point of the program. Every program execution starts from main only. Okay, then where we have to write it, where we write, see, to run C++ program, you can write the program in any text editor. Okay, listen carefully here. In any text editor, in any text editor, in any text editor, we can write C++ program. We can write C++ program. We can run C++ program in any text editor. What are the examples for text editors? Like you can write in Notepad. You can write the program in Notepad. You can write the program in WordPad. You can write the program in MS Word. Okay, in the MS DOS, if edit command is available, there also you can write. Okay, or you can use the editors like Edit Plus editor, Edit Plus, to write the programs. You can use Edit Plus. Okay, or other editors like code blocks you can use, code blocks, code blocks you can use, developer C++, developer C++ you can use. So like this, several editors are available. Okay, so in any text editor we can type this C++ program. So on any system, okay, this notepad is available. So now I write first program in the notepad. Okay, you have no need to install any other software. So along with operating system only, this notepad software will come. So in the notepad I will write, later I will explain the programs on edit plus. So first program I'm writing on notepad. Okay, so we write the program on, we write the program on text editor, and we have to install, we have to install C++ compiler. We have to install C++ compiler to run C++ programs. So to run C++ programs, install C++ compiler and use one text editor. So two things are required. Two things are required for the C++ program. So to write and run C++ program, two things are required. Two things are required. What are those two things? First one is one text editor and one C++ compiler. So install C++ compiler and text editor. So these two are required to run the C++. So I'm opening notepad now. Observe carefully here. I'm opening notepad. In the notepad I want to write the program. So I'm pressing Windows R. That is displaying run dialog box to me. Here I'm writing the command notepad. I'm writing the command notepad. Okay, so here we write the program. So just simply I'm writing main function here, main, starting point of main, ending point of main. Okay, so here I'm writing return type as int. So main can return integer type value only, it cannot return other type values. Okay, in this modern C++ can return integer type only. So here I'm writing the return statement, return 0. Okay, so I am saving this program now. I'm saving this program. So this program here we are not doing anything here, just we are defining what main function, we are not writing any statements. So just that starts the execution and that comes out of the main, that's it. So return 0 means that returns 0 to the operating system, that returns 0 to the operating system. Okay, so here return 0 means that returns 0 to the operating system. Okay, so return type is int, here we are writing return statement. So I'm saving this program. This program will not execute anything, it will not display any output to us. So blank output will come. Check here, I'm saving this program. So for our batch I'm creating a new folder here. For our batch I'm creating a new folder. I'm giving this folder name as cpp. I'm giving folder name as cpp7. Our folder name is cpp7. In this folder I'm saving the program. I'm saving this program with the name hello. I'm saving this program with the name hello. .cpp is the extension. .cpp is the extension for cpp file. Okay, so where we are storing it? In the F drive, in the cpp7 folder we are saving this program. So program successfully saved, program saved. Okay, I want to compile this program now. So to compile this program, what we do is open command prompt, go to our program location. We stored our program in which drive? In the F drive. We stored our program in the F drive. Observe here, in the F drive. Our folder name is cpp7. So in that hello.cpp file is there, just now we created 88 today, August 8. Okay, 25 now the time is. Okay, see, so this file just now created. I want to compile the program now. I want to compile the program. So open the command prompt, go to our program location, go to our program location. So to go to our program location, what we write? To go to F drive we write F colon. Now we are in the F drive. Go to the cpp7 folder. So to go to cpp7 folder, what we write? cd cpp7, cd cpp7. So now we are in our folder. So this hello.cpp has source code we have written, this return statement we have written. Okay, now I want to compile that one. So to compile the C++ program, we use g++ command. So we use the command g++ command. Okay, so write g++, then give the source code file name. Source code file name is hello.cpp. I want to get output file. So to get output file, we use one option here. That is -o we write here. So give the exe file name. I am giving exe file name as hello.exe. Now exe file will be created after compilation. So here what we are doing, we are compiling this hello.cpp program. After compilation, what it will generate? Exe file. Today I explained the execution process of C++. See here we are writing the program that is called what called source code. That source code we are compiling. After compilation, that will create exe file. Observe here we are compiling now. Observe in the background. In the background, how many files are there? One file is there. After compilation, that will display two files to us. Observe, I'm pressing enter key. Okay, after compilation, here another file is generated. Observe here, just now it is created. Okay, see the time. Okay, so just now it is created. So when after compilation, with this we can understand that after compiling C++ program, what it will generate? Exe file. Exe file will be generated. This exe file contains native code which can be understood by the operating system. So that operating system calls that main method and that displays output to us. Okay. So here, what is the output of this program? I want to see that one. So simply write exe file name. You have no need to write extension. Just simply type exe file name. Exe file name is hello. So type it. So there is not displaying anything here, empty, because we didn't write any code here. Just simply we have written one return statement, return type here. Remember one point, writing this return type and this return statement is optional. Even if we don't write this int, implicitly the text as int main only. By default, the text main method as int main only. Even if we don't write this return 0, implicitly the text the return statement here. Save it. Now also that will give same output. That will not give any error. Okay. Again, I'm compiling. Successfully compiled. Okay. Again, I'm running. Okay. There is not displaying blank output screen. So we can also write like this. So with this, we can understand that writing return type is optional. Writing return type is optional, and writing return statement is optional. So writing this return type is optional. Writing int is optional. Okay, and writing return is optional. Here we didn't write return here, and here we didn't write return type int here. Even if we don't write, implicitly that takes this as int only. Implicitly that takes one return statement here, return 0. Even if we write or don't write, no problem at all. But for better programming, for best programming practice, it's better to write that one. Okay, so every time I write it, okay. So now on output screen, I want to print hello. So to print hello on output screen, we have to use one object. That object is called a cout. So cout is the object. With this cout object, we use insertion operator. So in tomorrow's class, I will explain clearly about what is this cout and what is this insertion operator. Everything I will explain in tomorrow's class. Tomorrow I start class with this program only. But just try to see where we write the program, how can we compile it, and how can we get the output. Okay, just try to observe that one. Okay, see here. So cout, we write insertion operator, then we write hello. I'm writing like this. Okay, now observe carefully. So on output screen, I want to print hello. So I am using the object here cout, then insertion operator. So if you write like this, that will give one error. If you write like this, that will give one error. So what is that error? Save this program. I'm saving this program now. Now compile this program here on command prompt. Compile the program. Okay. So to compile the program, which command we have to use? G++. Okay. Hello.cpp. Then -o hello.exe. So here we are compiling the program. So this source code, this is the source code. This is source code will be translated to the machine code now. When I press enter key, exe file will be created. Okay. So actually here now it is giving the error. So what is that error? Observe here. The cout was not declared in this scope. So cout was not declared here. Cout was not declared. Directly you are using cout. Where this cout is there, I'm not finding. This is the message giving by the compiler. So compiler is not finding where is this cout. That is giving error here. See, there is displaying order mark. Compiler is not finding where is this cout. So actually this cout defined in one namespace. The cout defined in one namespace. That namespace name is called std. That namespace name is called std. Okay, so std, we write scope resolution operator like this. So to use cout, we write std, then scope resolution operator. So here std is the namespace name. Std stands for standard. Std stands for standard. So whenever we want to use cout, we must use this namespace name and scope resolution operator. This double colon is called scope resolution operator. So now I'm saving this program. Now again I'm compiling this program. Now also it will give error. Observe carefully. What is that error? Observe here. What is that error? So that is giving one error. Okay. What is that error? See, note. The compiler is telling clearly that note. std scope resolution operator cout is defined in header file iostream. So whenever we want to use this cout, which is in the std, we must write hash include iostream here. So we must write this hash include iostream. So that is missing. So this statement is missing. Okay, hash include iostream. This statement is missing. This is the error given by the compiler. Okay, so that's why. So this std namespace defined in iostream header file. In the iostream header file, std namespace is there. In the std namespace, cout object is there. Cout is the object of ostream class. And this insertion operator is also defined in the std namespace. Okay, so here std namespace defined in iostream header file. So we must write hash include iostream. Hash include iostream. Okay, so I will finish the class within 5 minutes. Please listen. Please listen. I will finish the class within 5 minutes. See, I'm saving this program now. Now I'm saving the program. Observe the output. Observe the output. I'm compiling the program. Observe, successfully compiled. Program is successfully compiled. To run this program, type the exe file name. Exe file name is hello. So what it is displaying? Hello on output screen. It is displaying hello on output screen. So this is the first program to print hello on output screen. Okay. So here the cout is called object. This double less than is called insertion operator. This std is the namespace. Okay, so if you want to use cout, we must write std scope resolution operator. This std namespace defined in iostream header file. So that's why we write hash include iostream here. So tomorrow is holiday, Sunday is a holiday. On Monday, I will start our class with this program only. Okay, I will explain. Arpit, I will talk about this std. I will talk about this std in the next class. In the next class, I clearly discuss about namespace. Okay, what is this std? Okay, so what is this scope resolution operator? In the next class, I clearly explain. Okay, just in this class, just we have seen where to write the program, how can we compile, and how can we run the C++ program. That's it. On Monday, tomorrow is a holiday. On Monday, I start our class with this program only. I will explain each and every statement. In the first line, what is happening. In the second line, what is happening. Okay, so why we have to write std scope resolution operator, why we have to write this insertion operator. If you write insertion operator, what is happening here, everything I will cover in the next session. On Monday, I will explain all these things. Okay, so if you want to install C++, if you want to install C++, okay, in the Google Drive, okay, go to the SourceForge website. Go to the SourceForge website. SourceForge is the website. The SourceForge is the website. In this website, okay, you can download C++ software from the SourceForge website. Okay, or you can also write like this, C++ software. So C++ software download. Directly I'm writing C++ software download. C++ software download. I'm typing here. Okay, so here you are getting sourceforge.net. So from the sourceforge.net, okay, you can download the C++ software. Okay, actually I install one compiler. That compiler name is MINGW. MINGW has C++ compiler. MINGW. So MIN stands for minimized. G stands for GNU. GNU is the company name. Okay, for Windows. So minimized version, minimized GNU for Windows. So here MinGW stands for minimized GNU for Windows. So download this MinGW compiler from the SourceForge website. Okay, so second one, from the SourceForge website, download this one. Okay, so when you click on download, okay, that software will be downloaded. So after downloading, when you are installing it, see, when you are installing it, you will get one dialog box like this. So in this, you can select the compiler which you want. In this, select basic setup here. Now here G++ is there. Select this one and follow the wizard. Select this one. Okay, and when you click on close, okay, for example, I want to install ADA compiler. So I'm marking this one and I'm clicking on close. So that will display this dialog box to us. Click on review changes. Then that compiler will be installed. Okay, once again I'm repeating. So from the Google, okay, from the SourceForge website, download MinGW software. After that, okay, whenever you are installing, you will get this one. You will get this window. In that, select basic setup. Then select GCC G++ here. Okay, then close this window. That will display this dialog box to us. Click on review changes. Then the G++ compiler will be installed. Okay, so here G++ stands for, G means that is company name GNU. So G++ stands for GNU C++. G++ stands for GNU C++. So GNU company's C++ compiler this is. So this MinGW has collection of compilers like Fortran compiler, ADA compiler, Objective-C compiler. So collection of compilers are there in the MinGW. So most famous compiler it is. So you can download it and you can try it. Okay. Now I'm stopping the session.